everyone. This is Kristen with IngramSpark. Thank you for joining us today for our monthly webinar, Tips Every Self-Publishing Author Should Know, featuring John Koehler and, of course, Robin Cutler. Before I hand you over to Robin and John, I have a couple of things that I want to address. The first is to let you know at the end of the presentation, John will let you know how you can get your hands on his new book, Pocket Guide to Publishing, 100 Things Authors Should Know. So that will be coming up. Just wanted to let you know that. Also, just the monthly housekeeping tips. We'll be live tweeting, so join us in that. You have a module in your preview tool that you can see where we've already inputted in hashtags and things like that for you to tweet with us. If you have any questions during the presentation, feel free to put those in the Q&A module, which should be on the left-hand side of your screen, and we will have 10 minutes at the end to answer those. We also might try to answer a few of them throughout, so anything that you have on your mind, please let us know and we'll get back to you right away. We do have people answering the questions also online. There's a printable version of the presentation that can be found in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen as well. So if you want to print that out for later use or share that with anyone, feel free. And we record all of our webinars. You can find them on YouTube about 76 hours after we have the webinar. And we do this every month. So we've got November and December left in the year. We hope that you join us for the next few webinars that we have, always with some amazing expert that talks about a self-publishing need to know. And without further ado, I want to introduce Robin Cutler. She is the director of IngramSpark. She is the woman that made IngramSpark happen and is out and about. She's the face that you guys probably get to talk to and see, and we're happy to have her on board. And I'm going to hand it over to her.
Well, thanks, Kristen, and thanks, everyone, for joining us today. I am just delighted to have our special guest here with us today, John Koehler. But first, I just wanted to give you just a quick update. I just returned from the Frankfurt Book Fair, which is the largest book fair in the world in Frankfurt, Germany, and we had a big IngramSpark display there, and it's just a huge, huge event. If you ever get a chance to go to Frankfurt as an author or publisher, that should be on your bucket thing of things to do. But what was really great for me to see were so many authors from around the world that, came to the IngramSpark stand and let us know, some of the issues that they have, as far as publishing and to introduce themselves and be part of the IngramSpark family. So it was just really heartening, my trip there. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to my friend and fellow publisher and author, John Koehler. John Koehler has published some 250 books, I think it is now. He has tremendous knowledge. He's a huge advocate for authors and author rights and author, needs for, bringing a book to market and, all that's entailed with that. So we're really, really happy to have John with us, and I'm especially proud of working with John. He's one of the people that's always letting me know, as the director of IngramSpark, things that we can do on behalf of our authors and customers, to improve the IngramSpark site and service. And so I'm just always happy, when John gives me a call and says, here's something you might want to think about. So John, really happy to have you here with us today.
Thanks, Robin. It's always great to be with you. I enjoyed when we were together at BEA in Chicago, hanging out on the stage together, doing those workshops. That was like, brother and sister, man. I just really dug that. And I am sorry about the photo. I know you guys like the other one. What can I say? It was an attempt at being more corporate. Okay, so I just want to start off with the books. And Robin, you know that I've written and published 7 of my own books, and here they are. And I'm not doing this at all to brag, because I think I'm a decent writer, somewhat lazy writer, but I really want to just let everybody know I'm a writer and I'm an author, so I get it. And that's one reason why I really like hanging out with writers and with authors, is because I get where you're at. I know what it feels like to be rejected, to be accepted, to be, to hope and to pray that people are going to like your work and everything else, and then want to get it, to hold it in your hand. So these are my books. The first one, Bipolar by Koehler, that was just about my life, dealing with a mental illness, still dealing with it. And then all the way to the end, you can see Teddy Rex. There's a children's book that I did with my cohort here, Kelly Emery. We've got a new imprint doing children's books, a lot of fun. And then the last one's the Pocket Guide. It's a wee book. It's only 4 by 6. It's the smallest one that we can do, the smallest size. And whenever we pull it out at a workshop, people go, "Oh, isn't that cute?" So you will get a chance to download whatever version of that you want when we're done here. So, I hope it'll help you. So let's see, just some quick facts about us. We were founded in 2010, but I actually started publishing my own work in 2005. And as Robin said, we've published about 250 titles. We're sold in print, digital, audio, and foreign languages. And the audio and foreign languages, with a lot of publishers, and certainly with us, we're more passive on that. We have an agent who's selling that stuff. We're very active with print and digital, with ebooks, softcover, hardcover, et cetera. We have 12 full and part-time members all over the place here in Virginia and elsewhere. And we've won a bunch of literary and design awards, or more specifically, in many cases, our authors have. So that's always a fun thing. We're known as there's a lot of us out there, publishers who are known as hybrid publishers, meaning that we do most of the various ways, in our case, 3 ways: traditional, co-publishing, and self-publishing options. And you guys, I'm sure, know what those are, so we don't have to belabor it. We may talk about it a little bit more later. We're distributed via IngramSpark. We've been with Ingram, since 2007 in various forms, with Ingram Publisher Services, with Ingram Wholesale. Robin helped me get into that, and helped us get into that, and now with Spark. And we just feel like this is the perfect fit for us. And if you're thinking about doing your own book, this is, in my opinion, in our opinion, the best place to be. And we'll talk about that a little bit more later on, but that's who we distribute with. Okay, here we go. We've got 10 tips we're going to be going over. And again, if you have questions as we go through these, just shoot us a text, and we'll be able to take care of that as we go along here. Tip number 1: write a great book. That's it. That's all I have to say. Boom. I'm going to drop the mic right now and get out of here. If only it was that easy, right? I think all of us know that's the most, writing, the quality of the writing is the number one reason that readers will buy your book. There is no question about it. People will try to tell you different reasons, or they'll go, no. Look, it's the agents who decide, or it's the literary reviewers or whatever. Nope, it's the readers. Always has been. Collectively, they are absolutely brilliant. Get help from editors and writers and readers groups. If you haven't done that and you're working on your book, it's a great thing to do, because you can get into a writers group, and let's say there's other debut writers and maybe some that are more experienced. You guys will read each other's work. Sometimes you'll read it out loud. It's a great way, a somewhat painless way, to get feedback on it. Editors, the same thing. I'll tell you this little tip. Just about every experienced author who has come our way through an agent, an agented author will almost always have their manuscript edited, meaning they are spending money. They are spending big money, thousands of dollars, with a professional editor to get it edited. And the point is, you want it to look as good as it possibly can before you take it to an agent or to a publisher, Or do it yourself. Just make sure you get through that phase. Write what you know. This is from Joe, who's our executive editor, and it's a good reminder. You can write about things that you're not familiar with, but in many cases, writing about what you know, even if it's fiction. We get a lot of attorneys who will write legal thrillers, that kind of thing. Write about what you know. Nothing beats expertise, and expertise goes to your plausibility. And plausibility, man, if you don't have it, if people are reading your book and they go, that would never happen, then you're dead. It's game over. Do something new or different. Study what's being done out there. Write a great book. Try to be different. Oh, this is a tough one, isn't it? I've been here before. Set attainable expectations. We've had authors who come to us, submit their manuscript, and then say, I've got to make enough money to make a living. And God bless you. We would love that, because if you're making money, we're making money. The publisher's making money. But if it's your first book, it may not happen, folks. I mean, it may be really tough to make it big with your first book. Your first book is about you branding yourself and getting through it and learning so that you can become a better writer, because I promise you that you will. Tip number 2. Robin, anything on tip number 1 that comes to mind that I missed or you can think of?
Well, I love the set the expectations. I just think that's so important to really understand for yourself. What is it that you're trying to get out of, whatever book you're trying to bring to market, and be really honest about that with whoever you're working with. Even the editor that you choose, the designer that you choose, and especially a publishing house. If you happen to get a traditional sort of publishing deal, it's really important to bring those expectations forward. I find so many people think that it's just putting covers on a book and having a physical book available, and that's the end of the publishing process. To me, that's the beginning of it, and there's so much that should have gone in to everything that your thoughts are. And one of the things I talk about is how do you even envision what that book you want it to look like? Because sometimes the way you're envisioning the book may not be practical or standard, or it's going to cost you more money. So those expectations, I think, are really, really important.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. I think we as writers also put expectations on the readers and how we're going to be received. We have to put expectations on ourselves also, and this kind of rolls right into tip number 2, be professional. So if you immediately start thinking of yourself as a business person and your book is your business, it will help, okay? I mean, I've had many cases where I recommended to debut authors that, hey, as part of your social media, get your information up on LinkedIn. Oh, LinkedIn? Oh, that's for like business people. Aren't you in the business of selling books? So think of yourself that way. Be entrepreneurial. Here we go. Put your resume and book details on LinkedIn. Guess what? On LinkedIn, there's a lot of great book groups and different areas that are related to what you do or even your genre. It's surprising, but it's really true. Do what you would do to promote any business. If you are in business or you're working at a business, you've probably already learned a lot of things on the marketing side that can help you with your book, but you're just not putting it together. So kind of, step back and go, all right, what do I already know? What do I already know? You sell widgets. Does any of that apply to selling books? Some of it will. Okay, I'm not saying exactly to dumb it down, but take advantage of the things that you already know, and then talk to other people. Act and speak in a professional manner as an expert. Remember, nobody knows more about the subject matter of your book than you do. All right, and again, be professional. You go into a bookstore, be ready. Tell them, give them a copy of your book, give them a copy of your tip sheet and information sheet. Talk about what you can do for them. just really act as a professional. Robin, anything on the professional side?
Well, to add to that, I like to tell people, it's always great to form relationships with your local bookseller, with your local librarian, before you finish your book, and beyond that, be a customer of the bookstore, be a patron of the library.
Yeah.
Make sure they know who you are, and they will be huge resources for you when you're ready to publish.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And you know what? That same idea applies for blogs. If you wanted to do a blog tour, go find the blogs that are related to, the genre of your book, the content of your book, and go start following them. Don't just jump in right away and say, hey, would you do a review? Go and follow them. Create a relationship. It's all about relationship. Tip number 3, choose top shelf printing. Okay, you may be doing something that's ebook only, and that's fine. This doesn't apply. But in most cases, you want to do printing as well. You want to do printed versions of your book as well as ebook. Maybe you do audio later on, foreign rights, etc. Get samples and compare the printer and distributor. Okay, seriously, get samples. Ask for it. Call them up. Ask them. Talk to other authors who are using it, and really look at it. The material should be top shelf. If it's not, you really don't want to do it. Don't just go for the cheapest way. Sometimes it's better to go for the slightly more expensive model and get a much better look. So go for quality. Look for easy access title management systems, okay? This is one reason why we're with IngramSpark right now. It's not because they're the only show in town. They're not. But it's because their title management system, we call it a TMS, is really easy to use. It is so smart. It's based on them being around for a long time. And they whittle it down and give us the best of. Seek printer with many soft and hardcover options. We have a lot of different options that we can use from Spark. I mentioned, that the Pocket Guide is the smallest size at 4x6. We have different types of, cover that we can use, a gorgeous matte velvety finish versus a gloss, and all the way up to 8.5 by 11. So make sure that you've got what you need and you've got lots of options. Look for an excellent value to quality ratio. We touched on that already. You want to get quality. You don't want to spend too much for it. That's really, really important. Why we use IngramSpark, I've already mentioned some of it. Excellent print, best printing in the business. We've seen that consistently. Some of the other folks around town, sure, you can go out and get it, and they're getting better. But guess who they use is the company that they're trying to reach. It's Ingram. It's Lightning Source, the company that does the printing, okay? And we've been with Lightning Source for a long time. So, we use them for that. We use it for the simple title management system. We use it for the really fast turnaround on the printing. I mean, it's not called Lightning for no reason. It's really, really fast, and we can ship them anywhere that we need to. Let's see. I think that might be it. Okay. Comments on printing there, Miss Robin?
Well, I'm an advocate for print on demand that, Lightning provides. And what's great about print on demand, there are a couple of things. You can use print on demand, without having to invest in inventory. You kind of pay as you go, which is really great when you're first getting started. And the other big thing about print on demand that is no small thing is that, you can easily update your content. So if you get a good review or a great endorsement or you win, an award, you can go and update your cover information, because you'd want that on your book. And if you have inventory, you're kind of stuck with that version. So, and then you mentioned the matte finish. If you have a cover, and this is just FYI, and this is my preference, but if you have a cover that has is black or has a lot of darkness on the cover, and it will tend to show fingerprints. If you use that matte finish instead of the gloss, It will not show fingerprints. It tends to wear. It doesn't scratch, that kind of thing. So that I'm a big advocate of the matte finish, like you said, John.
Yeah, and here's another way, Robin. You know this. We do it all the time. A lot of publishers will. And folks, I would recommend that you consider this. Let's say that your book has a January 10th, release, and you're ready to rock November 1st. Okay, so you want to get in that pre-sales time. You want to get your book out there. You want to get printed ARCs, advanced review copies of your book out there. You don't have any endorsement quotes. It's okay. Print it. Send it out. Get it out there. Get them back. And then add it, and then boom, update it, and that's what you're then going to release. So you can set the book up and not distribute it until you're ready, until you get those final quotes and reviews and that kind of thing. So yes, Robin's right. It's a tremendous tool that we love. Tip number 4: demand world-class distribution. Well, same thing applies, guys. You ask other authors. Ask around, check the national and the global reach of the distributor. Do they really have national and global reach? You have to be careful. And I'm really sincere about this, because some of them will talk the talk, but they don't really walk the walk. And maybe they're on the West Coast, or they're here, or they're there, but they're not really national, and they don't have the global reach either, because they're not connecting with some of the booksellers that are needed to take you there, okay? And it's not just Amazon. It's BarnesandNoble.com. It's, Books A Million. There's a ton of them that are out there. Make sure you can get into the bookstores, and I mean the brick-and-mortar bookstores, okay? This is key here. Typically about maybe only 10 to 15% of our sales come through brick-and-mortar bookstores. But do we want them? You bet we do. And it's also that sort of panache for writers and authors to have their books accessible. That's the key. Can the bookstores access your book? Can you walk in and go, hey, I'm thinking about an event. Can you see if you can buy my book, order my book? They will be able to see it if you're with the right distributor, like Ingram, okay? So make sure that you can get into the bookstores, because otherwise you just can't, all right? You just can't. A lot of distributors just don't have access. They'll look it up and they'll say, nope, sorry, can't get it, can't buy it. It's not returnable, whatever. Look for print and ebook distribution to all major booksellers, of course. Okay, I mean this is key, and this is one of the things that Ingram does. They're one of the biggest, if not the biggest, book distributors in the world. Okay, so you want to get to everybody? Then go this way, including, you want to get to Amazon? Of course you do. I do. We do. We love it. But we also want to get everywhere else. And this is the way that we roll. And that's why we use IngramSpark for distribution. As far as we're concerned, nobody else can touch it. Okay? There's just really nobody else that can get this kind of breadth and depth and quality, and help us to figure things out. So that's why we're here. Robin, distribution points you want to make?
Yeah, so just to kind of add to what you're saying here, John, so the reason distribution is so important is because, this is the preference of booksellers. They want to go to a single source to buy content from, a multitude of publishers in one place. It just, makes it a lot easier for them to sort of manage that. Why that's good for you as an author, and also, as a publisher, is, when we get an order from a bookstore, we fulfill that order, and that can be your book. We're going to pay you for that sale. Ingram's definitely going to collect the money from the bookstore. I don't know. I was a publisher in the past, and some bookstores kind of went under. Those were the sort of bad old days. And I would be kind of left holding the bag on those bookstore orders when I sold directly. And had I always sold directly through Ingram, I would not have had to worry about that, because Ingram's always going to pay you for a sale, from a bookseller or library. So that's another important point for distribution.
Yeah. Another thing, folks, that you'll hear, sometimes they'll use POD as a dirty word. Guess what? It's not a dirty word anymore. So many publishers and distributors are using it. If a bookstore ever says, sorry, that's POD, we can't get it, they don't really mean there's a problem with it being print on demand. Usually they mean that the wholesale discount that they're looking for, they're not quite getting it, okay? And you would set that if you're setting up an IngramSpark account, or that the book is not returnable. It has to be returnable for most of these stores in order to sell it. So it's really those two things. It's not about it being POD. Okay, tip number 5, become tech savvy. Learn a little bit of all aspects of your book production. Okay, we're talking about this now as if you go, all right, doggone it, I can't get an agent, or I don't want to go through a publisher. That's it. I want to do this myself. I want to do this. I'm going to do it. What do I do? Set up your account with IngramSpark. Learn a little bit about all aspects of your book production, okay? And you know what some of those are. Producing the cover. How are you going to get that done? The layout. What's important? The production of the ebook. And, working with the title management system, all of these things. Make sure you can upload files and alter metadata. Metadata is just the information that goes into your book about everything from the description to about the author to genres to you name it. It's the text, it's the content that will show up on, BarnesandNoble.com or Amazon or wherever your book is showing up. That's what will be seen, and it goes out on Ingram's feed. Uploading the files, it's not that hard. It's like anything else. You just have to sort of learn. You may need to, get help from a designer who can help you with that. Craft a relationship with the customer service reps. Oh, boy, it's always a good idea, always about relationship. And I sure try to do that. I'm not always successful, but we love them. Conducting ebook sales campaigns, all right? And I'm mentioning this is really a marketing thing, but you need to know what to do. Are you going to go to BookBub or a place like that sells ebook list to readers and, do a 99 cents or $1.99 sales campaign? You can. You just need to know how it works and what the process is, for that. Anyway, let me see. Back on this one. Anything else, Robin, on the technical side that the average author should try to be up to speed on that comes to mind?
Well, yeah, and just real basic. Probably the number one thing is when you're thinking about your book, the physical aspects of your book and how that book is kind of put together, there's an established way that books have been done, for the last 500 years. And so if your book follows sort of the standard of how books are kind of crafted and put together, then when you present that book to someone and they can look at it and see, well, this looks like a Random House type book or, a major publisher type book. Make sure those parts are in there. And for instance, like a title page, a copyright page, if it's a nonfiction book, it's real important to have table of contents and an index. Those various parts of a book, really, really important. And oftentimes I see, especially self-published books where they just don't have the basics down. And it kind of, I'm kind of sad by that because that's one of the easiest things to kind of get down.
Yep. Because the general rule is if you're going to do it well. Okay, uphold. If you're going to self-publish a book, that's great. And you know what? I think Robin or me or anybody in the business would be saluting you and saying, "God bless you." You know what? We think you're awesome. You can do this, but do it well. Uphold to the highest standards of publishing and literature et cetera. And the things that Robin was just talking about is simply studying what is it about a book, that are done by the greats, the big publishing houses. I studied it back in the day with my own book. What is it about it that makes it work? Just study it, and it'll pay off in the end. Tip number 6: spend money on professionals. And listen, folks, your knee-jerk reaction may be, "Oh, sure, he's trying to pick our wallet." I'm not. I'm just saying that you need to think about what your book is going to look like, how it's going to read, how it's edited. So here you go. Invest in top quality editing, design, and technical production. If you're able to get a traditional deal and you get in with a publisher, and we do them, about 15% of what we do, the publisher will take care of all of this stuff. You don't have to spend any money, okay? But as I said before, often the best authors that we deal with, the top-notch, very experienced authors coming through an agent, they will get their book edited, okay? So be willing, be aware, talk to other authors out there about what it takes. Hire marketing experts if your budget allows it. It may not, And again, I'm not saying, hey, you need $10,000 to do this. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that hiring people who are professional and know their way about book design or book editing or book marketing can pay off in the end. Get advice from or hire website, trailer, and social media experts. Again, think about your book as a business, as we said before, and you as a businessman. In the business world, the saying is you got to spend money to make money, okay? And it's true with books to a certain extent. You may be really, really good and entrepreneurial and able to use guerrilla marketing techniques and just sort of, get it done. And if that's the case, fantastic. But just be aware that you can consider spending money on professionals. Hey, Robin, I'm going to jump to the next one so we make sure we have time at the end here.
Yeah, that's great.
Unless you have something. Is that okay? Okay. This really goes hand in hand with the last one, but it's different too. It's kind of about, in the beginning, I said, look, think of yourself as a business person, right? And your book is your business. Here we go. Be entrepreneurial. Use guerrilla marketing techniques. Guerrilla marketing, generally speaking, means that you're using techniques that cost you little or nothing. Okay, you can get books about it. You can, go to seminars and workshops about it, et cetera. Just to be able to do things with social media, do things with your own book distribution and your own sales, and your own visits and events and everything else that, can make a difference without having to spend a lot of money. Pool your resources with other writers. There's different ways that you can do this. We've had writers who, for instance, some of our mystery writers got together and approached me and said, hey, can we do a Halloween sale? And it's like an ebook sale. It's like, yeah, great idea. And we did a little logo for it and pushed it out there, and they sold some books. There's different things that you can do to team up with writers. Certainly, if it's a book of short stories, we've had some good success with those kind of books. Try new techniques and see what works. In other words, one of my things I like to say is, look, if you keep knocking on the front door and nobody comes, go to the back door. See what works. Try new things, and you may be surprised. Be open. Get out there and sell your work. How many, Robin, I know you've got stories, but how many of the best-selling authors you can ever think about didn't make it with their first book, or they had to get out there and pound the pavement? Grisham, a lot of these guys, boom, going out there with a car full of books and taking them to libraries, and you've got to get out there. You've got to be, you are the brand. Your book is part of that brand, but you are definitely the brand, and you will help sell your book for sure.
Yeah, I have a story here. Kwame Alexander, who last year won the Newbery Award for Children's Literature. He tells stories about when he was getting started and, actually taking his work and books like to farmers markets and, setting up stands and, into restaurants. And, he just always felt like, his best success was in places where you wouldn't expect to see an author or a book. And he just talk about pounding the pavements. He really did it.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't have to limit yourself to bookstores. And bookstores are great, don't get me wrong, but we've had some authors who do crazy cool things. We have one author who is a historian, and she writes about, the first ladies. She's done, I think this is her third book, and it's called Mary Lincoln's Flannel Pajamas and Other Stories About the First Lady. and believe it or not, it was just picked up. We sold it to a Chinese publisher. I mean, go figure, right? But it's a really cool book, and she rents out restaurants and does these teas, like TEAS, with these ladies, and she sells out every time. She fills it up, sells it out, and spreads the word. So really, be open about what kind of possibilities there are for your own book events. All right, tip number 8, know your audience. Well, what the heck does that mean? Well, you ought to have an idea of who is going to buy your book. This first bullet, this is, we're not trying to turn you into a psychologist or anything else, but, you can use psychological profiles before you write your book. You can study that more, like who, you're writing a thriller. Okay, there's certain types of people who like thrillers, but there's a legal twist to it. Well, there's certain types of people who really like legal thrillers. And what else? And it's about a senior. So I don't know. I mean, what's the key in your book that's going to make people respond to it? Okay, have a good idea, before you write your book, and that can help you along. You also can add characters and go, oh, that wasn't planned, and that's great. You're just adding profiles to the book. Determine their age range, gender mix, and interest. Again, when we ask authors to fill out the author questionnaire, that's one of the things. Who's your audience? And we're not saying, hey, give us one bullet. It's always 3 or 4 or 5 or more different ones, because it can go across the spectrum of the types of people, who are going to read that book. Join blogs and readers groups who follow your genre. I touched on this earlier. This is all about relationship. You're getting to know people. A blogger is like an online newspaper columnist, okay? They have a following. They have readers who read their work, and they love them, and they follow them. So you want those people. So how do you get there? You start a relationship with the blogger. And after a while, you go, hey, I love your blog. Been following it since, September. I've got a book that I really think you'd be interested in. Okay, that's much better than just cold sourcing, cold calling and saying, I've got a book, So try to be relational. Post Google or Facebook ads directed to your audience. Again, the cool thing about these kind of ads is they don't have to cost you a lot, and you can see what works, especially if you're using, if you're getting some data, some feedback from Google, et cetera, about your audience and what keywords are working. So hold events in places your audience feels comfortable. We touched on this earlier, but those women who read her books, they're not going to want to come to a bookstore necessarily, but they would love the idea of coming to a really nice restaurant with fancy, settings and where they can wear gloves. So really try to figure out what your audience is going to like and feel comfortable with. Robin, any thoughts about finding your audience?
Well, Yeah, especially around the age range. This is something now that's required, especially if you're doing a young adult or children's book. Not only, do you have to know the age range of the child that the book is intended for, but also the grade range. So think about that too when you're thinking about your audience.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And by the way, that's one of the things that you have to fill out on the title management system is who is your audience. If it's a juvenile book or if it's a book that's targeting, children, then you have to be specific for that age range. So it's kind of cool. Tip number 9, own the web. Well, all right, study other author websites before building yours. This is so basic. Okay, on our marketing page, we have several samples of our authors' websites. And that's not to say, hey, these are award-winning websites. Some of them may be, but it's really so that you can look at author websites and get a sense, get a feel of what do they all have in common? What are they doing? Are they showing excerpts of the book? Does the homepage always show the cover and the synopsis? Or does it begin with, the author? Who are you highlighting? Should the domain name be author-specific or book-specific? Usually it's author-specific. For nonfiction books, that can, there are some cases where that might not be the case, where we take the name of the book and make that the domain name. But definitely study other sites. It will really help you a lot. Be consistent with blog and social media releases. And when I say consistent, that means consistency on the release, the schedule, and, when you're going to be putting it out. Because, the idea of having to put a blog out once a week can be daunting. Some authors will write 10 blog stories, not terribly long, and stack them up and then have them planned to be released over time. That's a great way to do it. Social media, again, it's another way for your readers and followers to connect with you. Be varied, fun, and informative. I mean, look, it's a lot of newbies, a lot of debut authors think that blog posts and social media releases have to only be related to their book and they must be serious and literary. Au contraire, it is not true. You could be going home and a deer crosses the street and you just watch it and the sun's coming through the trees and it makes you feel amazing. Write it. Write about it. It could be things that are in your life. It could be something about your kids. It does not have to be literary or specific to your book. You certainly can. You can write a blog story about, this is why I wrote this book. This is what I was thinking about. This is who I was hoping would want to read it. So, have fun with it. Don't get too serious. Be professional, but you can be professional and fun. Make sure your social media is connected to your website. Again, this may seem pretty obvious to a lot of you, but don't have a blog over there and your website over here. Your blog can live right on your website. They should be connected. Unless you've got a huge following and you don't want to do that, then it's okay. But your social media should all be right there, installed, right on it. Consider direct sales and giveaways of your book on your website. Robin, tell them a little bit about the Aereo, which is a pretty cool way to sell your book directly through the site, where it counts as a book sale. You get royalties, et cetera, but it can come right through your website. You'll be better at that than I am.
Yeah, it's called Aereo, AER.io, and we can provide you some more information about this for everybody that's participating today. But essentially, it's a way that you can sell direct, from really creating your own storefront. And you can take in orders from your website and then use Aereo to fulfill those orders and tie in your social media to it as well. So we'll make sure that we provide some information to you with this when we send you the recording of this.
And folks, what's cool about that is that, it allows you to sell your books directly from your website, but you don't have to get involved. You don't have to be shipping them. You don't want to do that if you can avoid it. You're probably going to do some of them, with advanced review copies and with, there may be somebody over here that wants to buy a box of your books or whatever. Sure, you can take care of that. But this is a cool way for it to count as a royalty sale. And, last I checked, that's what we're looking for. Okay, last
one thing I want to add here, and you kind of mentioned it, one of the things that you always want to do from the day one when you first start thinking you want to write a book is whenever you talk to people who you think might be interested, start collecting their email addresses. That is something that you want to build over time and own those that way to communicate directly with your potential customers.
Shoot, we should have had that bullet on there. Good point. Yep. Collect the email addresses. Yeah, I know. Mm-hmm. Okay, be your own book hook. It's a very strange thing. The hook, you all probably have heard it. Certainly if you're in advertising or marketing, you know this term. It's what's the thing? What's the hook that's going to grab people? So you can start by presenting yourself as an expert to the media. Again, we touched on this earlier. You are and you should be the expert about your book. Okay? Now, if it's a novel, what we say, instead of a hook, it's a nonfiction hook. And almost always that's the author, meaning, oh, great, you've got a novel. Good, let me snooze. But if you say, hey, I've got a novel and it deals with my past where I had to deal with some really tough things with bullying, and some real oppression that occurred. So-and-so went to jail, that kind of thing. So that you're speaking out of your own experiences and your expertise. That will get you and your book noticed much faster. Make your book story pertinent to current events. It's just similar to the first bullet there. How can you tie it in to what's going on right now in the media, with things in the world, et cetera. I mean, LGBT stuff has been going on. That's been very, very common lately. We've had some submissions that have come in and some books that we've published that touch on some of that. Okay, big deal. But it's pertinent in terms of things that are being talked about. Police activity. We've got a couple of cops who we've published their memoirs. It's terrific. Okay, so it could be just about anything, but is it related, or can you make it relatable? No one knows your book better than you. I mean, this just goes to you being the expert. There's no question about it. And again, as part of that whole packaging, that branding, you lead with it. Sell yourself, and you will sell your book. There's no question about it. They want to hear from the author. I jumped ahead there. Robin, anything else you can think of on the book hook idea?
Yeah, so it's like your elevator speech, right? So when someone asks you what you do, rather than, tell them, your 9-to-5 job, even if you may have a very exciting 9-to-5 job, which I hope you do, rather than that, tell them you're an author. And don't even say writer, say author, because to me that sounds a little mysterious. And the next question will invariably be, well, what's your book about, or what have you written, or tell me about your book. And then you do your little elevator speech about the hook of what John's talking about, and make sure you collect their email address because that's a lifelong potential customer for your work.
Get their card.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Okay, so here's the Pocket Guide to Publishing, and there's the link. You can see it right there. And if you go there, you click on it, you'll see 3 different versions of the book. There's an EPUB, there's a Mobi, and your reader may like one better than the other. And I think there's also a PDF file that you can download and may be easier. It just depends on how you want to look at it. If you're going to look at it on your computer, PDF maybe, but you can sort it out, okay? Help yourself and enjoy it. And, you know, I hope it helps you. It touches on a lot of the things that we've discussed here today and many more.
This is, I have to say, because I was one of the early readers of this book, and to me it's a labor of love and a real gift that you've done for authors. You know, you just mentioned 10 things here in this webinar, and this book actually, you know, has 100 things. So, you know, read the guide, study the guide. It's easy to digest, and I think we'll really get you, you know, really far down the road of really understanding publishing and becoming the business owner of your own content. So I highly recommend it.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you. And I think, let's see, what else do we have here? Yep, there's how you can get in touch with me if you want to. Happy to talk to you, help you any way can. And I think, Kristen, is there anything else you want to?
Yeah, Kristen, you have a question?
Sure. Yeah, we have a few. So I'll just jump in and ask you a couple of them. So we had one question that when you were talking about co-publishing. So someone wanted you to explain the co-publishing option a little bit more.
Okay. It's fairly simple, I hope. It seems simple to me, but let me see if I can do it. So we have three forms that we do. Many publishers are different, but our forms are traditional, co-publishing, and self-publishing. And here's a very brief description. Traditional, of course, means that's what every author wants, and it means that generally speaking, the publisher pays some kind of advance. The author pays nothing, you know, for any kind of expenses, etc. You may wind up buying a bunch of books, but whatever. And the publisher takes care of it. The relationship it's a solid publishing relationship between author and publisher. Co-publishing means that the author gets involved in a direct way and collaborates with the publisher in the development of the book and also financially, okay? And generally speaking, with us, it's like 60, 70%. It varies with every publisher, okay? So that's co-publishing. Self-publishing for us, what we mean is that it's author-managed. And these are cases where there's not just debut authors, but in many cases experienced authors who are self-publishing, controlling it. We call that author-managed. Co-publishing for us and traditional is definitely publisher. We're managing that work. But self-publishing, we do all the creative development. We do, you know, the editing and the layout and all the tech work and everything. Set it up on your Spark account, and then you are free to go and collect all your royalties and alter the metadata or whatever it is that you want to do. So that's the difference between the three options.
Thank you, John. We have one from Mary. She said she did not choose to distribute to bookstores because she was afraid that paying for the returned books would make her lose more money than she would earn. So she's wondering what you and Robin advise for that.
Well, Mary, I feel your pain on that. Let me tell you, we love bookstores, but nobody loves returns, because returns hurts everybody, the author and definitely the publisher, because they're usually going to get stuck for the printing, as well as for any return fees associated with it, et cetera. This is one reason why we love Spark now, is because, let's just put it this way, with an old method of distribution that we had, we were at 40 to 50% returns. We're now at about 5 to 10%. And that is partially because, 80 to 90% of our sales are coming online, which means it's a direct-to-reader sale. When a bookstore, a brick and mortar buys it, It's an order. Okay, they're ordering it from the distributor. They can send it back anytime for 2 or 3 years. It's kind of crazy. So you have to decide whether or not you are willing to, to deal with that.
Yeah, one thing to add here is, because we've asked booksellers, what's if you see non-returnable, will that stop even a special order when someone goes into the store and asks for it for a particular book? And basically, returnability is not as important as the discount that you offer that retailer. So what they're looking for is, a regular discount that they would get from Ingram. And to be able to ensure that your title shows up as with a regular discount in the Ingram catalog, is you would need to make the discount be 53% when you set it up in IngramSpark, and that will ensure the regular discount. The returnable thing, probably I love Barnes & Noble, but probably Barnes & Noble is the biggest culprit in terms of buying, more than not that they should, but, more than, would be good for a small publisher. So when you're dealing with Barnes & Noble, I think it's always better to work with your local Barnes & Noble store, see what sells through at the local level. If it starts selling there, then work your way up to the regional buyer at Barnes & Noble before you go, to the national. And I think that's just a better way to protect yourself against return.
Yeah. And listen, the two things that are key, and I think we might have touched on this early on, if you're setting up your book, as Robin said, 53%, that means that when it goes out on the feed, that bookstores online or brick and mortar will see, yep, we're getting the discount that we need, and then also make it returnable. Okay, I mean, I hate to say that, but if you want to be sort of a legitimate bookseller, or rather a publisher that you're acting as, self-publisher, then you do need to make it returnable. Unless you decide that you're only making books, you don't want it distributed, that's a little bit different.
Thank you, guys, that was a great in-depth answer for Mary's question. And we have one more from Larry. He says, many independent bookstores have an online order list that seem to include many of the books listed on Amazon. Can you explain what bookstores tend to do? This, or how they do this, etc.?
Well, everybody.
Yeah, Robin, you take this one.
Yeah, I was going to say, everybody sees the bestseller list, that are put out from, different media involved in publishing. So those booksellers, see the bestseller list just like anybody else. So they tend to stock those books, and, rightfully so, because those tend to be, the most popular books that readers are looking for that are coming into the store. So they would be getting that list, even from, the Ingram catalog and what's available from when they place orders from Ingram. Do you want to add something to that, John?
No, the only thing, actually, I just see it, Kristen popped up the sign up for an account today. We've done so much of this with our clients who are going to set up, their own IngramSpark account. And this is some housekeeping, okay? If you do it, the two things that they're going to ask you for that are key, all right, and you may go, well, gosh, that's invasive. Well, it's not. I'll explain. Is that you're going to have to give them your credit card so that you can buy books, and you will want to buy books. And you're also going to need to give them your checking account information so that they can send you money, and they will do that every month. Trust me, we get it every month like clockwork. Okay, so when you fill out that account, this is why I'm telling you this, make sure that you do everything, or you kind of won't be live. Okay, it doesn't cost you anything. It just you sets up, and boom, then you can go and work on producing your book, getting somebody to help you create the PDF files for the cover wrap and so forth. But I wish you guys the very best, and thanks I appreciate you letting me drone on here. Robin, it's always a pleasure.
It was really great, John, and such great information, and your willingness to share, all your experience here has just been really, really helpful to everyone.
My pleasure.
And no problem. Thank you very much, John. Thank you, Robin. And just one more time, we went over 10 of the tips that are in the 100-tip pocket guide to publishing book. I put that up again just so everyone knows again where you can find that. John, thank you again. This is great information, and everyone have a great day. We hope you got something out of this.
Thank you.